Welcome into the Devil's Digest postgame show following Arizona State's 34-15 win over Texas State here at Mid America Stadium. My name is Justin Lestertosa. That's Publisher Hardabino. First, we'd like to thank our sponsors in Burrito Express and Santan Ford. And Hode, in our preview, you mentioned that you wanted to see the Sun Devils come out and make a statement going into Big 12 play. Did you see that happen tonight?
I'll tell you what, Justin. I am kind of leaving with somewhat of mixed feelings. Let's start with the good news, and I think that's the defense. The defense played outstanding. I really think this offense for Texas State isn't a whole lot less explosive than what we saw at Mississippi State last week. This team was just scoring by the dozens coming into tonight. But for ASU to limit them to just over 300 yards of offense, but just 15 points. They had 2 turnovers on downs, if I'm not mistaken. So I really thought the defense did really an outstanding job. Maybe finished the game on a somewhat of a lower note than began the game, but nonetheless, I don't think you can really have any complaints about the ASU defense. The offense, look, full disclosure, I said before the game, not so much to the camera, but to some other people that I was talking to, that it would be really concerning if ASU scored less than 40 points against a Bobcat defense, which I believe was averaging well over 30 points coming into today. On the one hand, we saw an offense that was more efficient. We did see a good emphasis on the run. There definitely were some missed opportunities out there for the offense to get to that magical number, at least maybe in my mind, of 40 points. So I think that's where maybe there was some meat left on the bone, if you will, when it comes to the offense. It wasn't a bad performance by any means, and definitely beat what we saw last week in Starkville. But I think the offense, especially going into Big 12 play and the game that they got at Baylor next week, is really going to have to be more explosive and more effective than we saw today. So not really a bad performance by any means, but I think I'd like to see a little more by the offense.
Yeah, as you said, not a picture-perfect performance, but definitely a bounce back from Mississippi State, and especially for Sam Levitt. He was making plays all night long on the ground, in the air, and everyone's talking about that off-balance throw to Jordan Tyson, who hurtled over the defender into the end zone. Jordan Tyson, just another day at the office for him, and Raleek Brown had maybe his best game in a Sun Devil uniform. What did you see just kind of as a whole?
Yeah, first of all, as far as that touchdown reception, Justin, if that doesn't make it number one in Sports Center, then I don't know what really can. But yeah, Sam Levitt, first of all, let's be clear that Kenny Dillingham in his post-game press conference did say that he did really try to simplify the game plan for Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt, after the game, said that he was really giving more input, more feedback in terms of the game plan. What was working well last week, what wasn't working well. You look at the numbers, and they're just okay. 15 out of 25. 188 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, so that's good. Also on the ground, even though he was sacked a couple of times, still 12 carries for 59 yards and scored a touchdown on the ground. But obviously the 2 main playmakers on this team, running back Raleek Brown, outstanding game, 12 carries, 144 yards, including a 75-yard touchdown run. And Jordan Tyson, another ho-hum, 100-yard receiving game, 6 receptions, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. I would like to see more of a distribution among other wide receivers. And I know that with this Jaron Hamilton that wasn't able to make a play downfield for what could have been a very, very long touchdown, or Malik McClain, the ball sailed over his head on one instance. So maybe other wide receivers did not really able to shoulder the load with Jordan Tyson, but, and that's a big but, the tight ends really got into the game plan when it came to the passing game. Notably, Shimon Mateer, 6 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. So I think that was definitely a very, very positive sign, for the passing game, to see the tight ends get in there. Kamari Anderson also did have 1 reception. Again, I think it was a good performance by the offense. I just felt like the caliber of defense that they were facing, that they really should have been just a little more effective, a little more explosive, and I really didn't think we saw that tonight. I don't think it's enough to raise any red flags or sound any alarms, but I think that from here on out, you want to build on this foundation and not think like, okay, this is the best the ASU offense can do from here on out in Big 12 play.
Yeah, and this is a Texas State offense that, just like Mississippi State, it's very explosive. They like to play hurry up. They like to play quick. But ASU held them to just 15 points on the night. No Xavier Alford, but what did you see out of the defense?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, you mentioned Xavier Alford. I thought his replacement, Boogie Wilson, played really, really well. But obviously, when you look at the defensive standouts, you have to start with linebacker Jordan Crook. Just an absolute outstanding game. 12 total tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, including a sack. Miles Grossrouser, a safety, did have 10 total tackles. So I really like the fact that the ASU defense was swarming to the ball. I don't think there was really a clean pocket on that many occasions. But Brad Jackson, their quarterback, you have to give him his due, because when he did have time to either throw or to make plays with his feet, he definitely did a good job. But ultimately, when you look at the stats, Justin, you see 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss by ASU. You really can't come with too many complaints, to the way the defense played. I think up until the very last scoring drive for Texas State, the Bobcats only had one play for over 20 yards, rushing or passing. And coming into tonight, they had a combined 11 plays that went for over 20 yards, rushing or passing. So I know maybe the fine definition of explosive plays maybe doesn't fit exactly when you talk about that 20-yard bar, but nonetheless, it wasn't like they were running up and down the field or just passing the ball up and down the field. So I think that, again, going back to my earlier point, you probably feel more good about how the defense played compared to the offense. Not that the offense played a bad game, but I was really, really impressed, by this defense, and I think that they showed up really, really well. So, I don't think the defense really got their teeth knocked in last week. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum that, aside from those 3 explosive touchdown plays, which I know were the difference in the game, obviously, the defense did play a pretty solid game in Starkville. So, against an opponent that obviously is not the same caliber of Mississippi State, but nonetheless very, very dangerous. I think especially in the first half and parts of the third quarter, this ASU defense really put the clamps on the Bobcats. So I think that was definitely a good sign for this side of the ball as well, to show progression, to show better performance than they did last week.
Yeah, and explosive offenses are seemingly becoming a trend for ASU schedule. Mississippi State, Texas State, and then next week in Baylor, Waco, Texas, for the Big 12 conference opener. Ho, do you think what ASU showed tonight showed that they're ready for Big 12 play to begin?
I think from a defensive standpoint, yes. Is the ASU defense going to limit explosive offense like Baylor at home for 15 points? Probably not. But I think this is a game that the defense can win you and may be called upon to win you. My concern is that a win in Baylor, which is not out of the question by any means, may just have to be a shootout. And I don't know if the ASU offense in its current state is ready to win games in that fashion. And there were plenty of games last year that they were able to win just by outscoring the other team. A game, I believe, like Kansas, for example, I think they had the ball last pretty much, and then were able to win the game that way. So that's where I have just somewhat of a doubt. But again, this definitely was a step in the right direction for the offense. To my liking, and maybe I'm being a little overcritical here for some, or maybe my point of view is actually the majority out there. It just wasn't maybe that big of a jump from what we saw against Mississippi State, but it definitely was a step in the right direction. I don't think it was a baby step either. I think it really was a significant step. So I think that there is some optimism to take away from the offense. But again, and we'll talk about that Baylor game obviously as we get closer more and more. But I just feel that might be a game that you actually have to win in a shootout, and I'm curious to see if ASU can do that. One thing I should mention is that back-to-back 200-yard rushing games for the Sun Devils. And I don't know if the defense for Baylor is going to be head and shoulders better than what we saw at Mississippi State, for example, last week. So I think that question, which again came more from outside of Maricopa County than within, what is this running game going to look like without Cam Scadaboo? Can this running game really carry the ASU offense? I think it can. Now the question is, can the passing offense really be complementary? So just involving more wide receivers Sam Levitt had a cleaner game, but needs to have probably a much better game, I think, next week in order to come away with your first win in Big 12 play. I know Kenny Dillingham said that, maybe sometimes if you peak at week 1, you're really going to feel some bumps in the road in the middle of the season where it's going to be an inopportune moment. But just for ASU to start maybe somewhat slow, but you're still seeing the progression, from week to week. Maybe that's actually a good sign. And let's not forget it. I mean, last year, in a season where they won 11 games total, sure, you had a blowout win against Wyoming, but you had a very rough outing at Texas State, and your game at home against Mississippi State, looked like at halftime we were in cruise control, but obviously later in the second half, you really had to scratch and claw to make sure that game did end up in the W column. So maybe this is kind of really reminiscent in some ways of what we saw in 2024. Now I know some people are going to say, okay, Hod, well, does that mean ASU is going to lose next week because that's what happened at Texas Tech in the opening game of the Big 12? I'm not saying necessarily that's the case, but again, we saw just an ASU team that you would say maybe from week 5 on was really playing, great football, maybe with very, very little blemishes on the road. Maybe the season is really going to be a copycat of that. We'll see. But again, if the goal was to really show marked improvement from last week to this week, I think mission accomplished. But again, really a tough contest awaits in Waco on Saturday.
Well, thank you, Hod, for your insight. We will be in Waco, Texas for ASU versus Baylor next week. So stay locked in on all the coverage. Go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter at Devils Digest. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors in Burrito Express in Santan, Florida. And as always, I'm Justin Lacertosa. That's publisher Hod Ramino. We'll talk to you guys soon.